our candidates forum, after which we will endorse for the congressional races that are affecting the city of Richmond, the 5th District School Board race, and we will also hear again about the constitutional amendments which are on the ballot. The order of the program will be as follows. We will hear from the congressional candidates, then we will hear from the school board candidates, and then we will hear about the constitutional amendments. Each candidate will have 3 minutes for an opening statement. We will then entertain questions and hear answers. And at that point, when the questions are finished, we will have a 3-minute closing statement. After the conclusion of the speeches and question and answers, we will then have the members vote and proceed with the endorsement process. Again, there's no PA system, so we need everyone to remain focused on the person that's speaking and give them the courtesy that they deserve. If at any point we become disrespectful or there's too much noise, we'll stop until it gets quiet. I don't have anywhere to go. And this is important even if we had a PA system. So I know we're all passionate about the candidates that we support, but let's be respectful to everyone that comes up to the podium. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to one of our former presidents who will be moderating the candidates forum, Mr. Melvin Law.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. I'm going to invite you to turn the clock back about 100 years before we had amplified sound, and listen very carefully. If they did it 100 years ago, we can do it tonight. Can we? Yes, thank you. All right, it is my pleasure to start this forum tonight by asking the candidates for the congressional districts 3rd and 7th to introduce themselves. They each will have 3 minutes for an opening statement, after which we will take questions. And at the conclusion of the congressional candidates forum, we will go to the school board contest for the 5th district. All right. Shall we start on this end and come forward? Introduce yourself and proceed. Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening. I'd like to thank the Richmond Crusade for Voters and the Military Retirees Club for having us here this evening. And to all the veterans in the audience, thank you for your service. My name is Floyd Bayne. I'm running as an independent conservative in the 7th District, trying to unseat Eric Cantor. I decided to run for Congress because I determined that neither of the 2 major parties have done what they need to do to improve the economy of this country and provide for the civil liberties that we all enjoy as Americans. I went to the first Tea Party gathering here in Richmond last year and realized that I wasn't alone in my concerns. And after talking to numerous people at that gathering, determined that it was something that needed to be done to challenge the current representative. I was born and raised here in Richmond, currently live in Chesterfield County, married 29 years this month, have a daughter 21, a son 17. I'm a former business owner, having owned 3 supermarkets in South Richmond. I'm currently a full-time student at Mary Baldwin College, and I'm 1 class away from getting a degree to teach history and political science. So if I'm not elected to Congress, I hope to affect the process in some other means. I appreciate the opportunity to come before you, the voters, and let you hear what we have to say and ask us questions. It's a shame some of the incumbents don't feel the same way, but I appreciate you folks being here tonight, and I hope we're all able to get something out of it. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it. Thanks goes out to all of you for having this forum, and allows the voters, you, to be able to have answers to your questions, be able to make a good, a sound decision when you get in that ballot box. Unfortunately, even with the PA, the low PA and whatnot, it doesn't matter how silent you are, you're not going to hear Eric Cantor. So, you know, all we can do is state about what we're going to do and what we're about. A little bit about me. I grew up in a military family. I moved to Virginia when I was age 9, and I've been here ever since. I went to college here, went to high school here. I'm married, 3 stepchildren. 1 stepchild just came back from Iraq in 2009. He's due to go back to Afghanistan in May. I'm a social worker. I've worked with families my entire life. And I've worked with at-risk youth. I've worked with the elderly, the disabled, veterans, and there's just too many roadblocks in the way for families to get through in order for them to be able to have the American dream. And one of the things that is not helping is politicians in Washington that are more worried about their political careers and pandering towards those who are funding their campaign wallet more so than they are about folks here on Main Street. And so that's what I'm here tonight to talk about, to answer your questions, and I'd like to thank you for having me. Thanks.
I guess we're all nervous.
Yeah.
I don't do this for a living. I'm John D. Kelly. I'm the independent candidate in the 3rd District. I live in New Kent. I'm a retired Master Sergeant in the Air Force. My wife was the principal at Newbridge Middle School, the alternative school in Henrico, until they just recently closed it down last semester, and now she has to go back being a teacher, and we lost a lot of money for her doing that. I have a daughter that went to the Air Force Academy. She's serving in Qatar, I'm told. That's the proper way to say it. I always thought it was Qatar. And I love it that way, because when I was serving, that's where I was supposed to go. And she's captain, and she'll be there a year. This is her 2nd tour over there. I have a son that's working in Henrico County with handicapped children in the school system. I have a younger son that just graduated New Kent High School, and he is attending Rappahannock. So we have ties here. We've been here 5 years tonight. We moved here from Louisiana during Katrina and Rita, if you remember that. We were affected by that. I was born and raised on Staten Island, New York. Joined the Air Force because I tried to escape from New York and they wouldn't let me out. They wanted the taxes. So I have a feeling for people around the country. I've lived in South Dakota because I told the Air Force I speak German fluently. And then I went to Albuquerque to work in the Air Force Weapons Laboratory in the Star Wars program. I speak German fluently, as I said, and I speak Japanese also. I've been to Puerto Rico, I've been to Panama, I've been to Germany, I've been to Japan, Korea. I've been around the world and I've seen different countries, but I love America. And America is where I want to live, not New York City. I'd rather live here in Virginia. We're lovers and I love it here. Another reason why I chose to run, the reason I live here is because we have a choice. We have a choice to run, be apathetic, or participate. And I want to participate. When I went in 2008 and looked at the ballot and I saw that the incumbent votes for himself, doesn't need your votes, doesn't need anybody's votes, he votes for himself and he wins. That's not America. That's not choice. I'm not asking you to change your minds. Yes, I am. I'd love to have you vote. But I want you to have a choice, and that's the whole reason I started this. And as I was going along, I noticed that there's a lot of people that are unhappy with the current administration, the Republicans and Democrats, and they want a different answer out there. And when I listen to the people, they're going to have a voice in Washington. A lot of them don't have that voice right now. I've been to different counties. I've been to Prince George, I've been to Surrey, Newport News, in my own county, New Kent, here in Henrico. I talked to all my wife's colleagues. They all say the same thing. We want more. We're not getting enough. And that's why I'm running. I'd love to have you vote in November. My name is John D. Kelly. Thank you very much.
Hi, how you doing tonight? All right, my name's James Quigley. I'm the Libertarian candidate running for the 3rd Congressional District. And I just want to thank the Crusade for Voters for putting this together for us. Not everybody's here that's running in the 3rd District, but it's not easy to get from the 2nd District to here, so. But I just want to say,
We live here.
So a lot of people actually usually ask, what's a libertarian? And so you have the split right now between people on the left and people on the right. People who see it as a left-leaning policies versus right-leaning policies. Libertarians actually see a second dimension. We see it to this. We see it actually between authoritarianism and individual rights and individual liberties. And so I started running because when I looked around, this is the freest country in the world, and we can all say that. But despite it being the freest country, it is not a free country. And I know when I say that, a lot of people sit and wonder, well, how can that be? You have the right to vote in this country. So did the Soviet Union. It didn't make them a free people. So did people of Iran today. Doesn't make them a free people. Freedom is something other than simply the right to vote every few years. You do not have freedom in a country where your local government can practice eminent domain and take away your private property thanks to the Kelo versus New London decision. You do not have freedom when the state can take away your voting rights even when you're not in the system. And you're not living in a free country when the national federal government can take your money forcibly from you under TARP and other bailouts and hand them to the rich oligarchs and the well-connected. So until these things stop, this is not a free country. And I'm pushing for individual liberty, individual rights, and freedom. Because ultimately, in this country, that is the only thing that unites us, is that ideal of freedom. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Richmond Crusade for Voters. I want to thank you for holding the forum because it's consistent with the Richmond Crusade for Voters history. Over 50 years of history working for voter registration, voter empowerment, making sure we hold elected officials accountable. Bill Thornton, Fergie Reed, and Johnny Brooks would be proud of what the Richmond Crusade for Voters is doing tonight. Tonight we're going to be talking about some tough issues, some sometimes very unpopular issues, but some things that have to be done. And I want to thank my opponents, Mr. Kelly, who is here talking about jobs, and we're going to have some solutions to jobs, and Mr. Quigley talking about personal freedoms, and that's why I voted against the USA Patriot Act, because it offered unnecessary wiretaps without warrants. Our other opponent is not here, and I'd like to ask him why he is opposing my position on faith-based initiatives which only allow discrimination in employment. When I stood up against discrimination in employment, that was unpopular. He has criticized that position, so I'd like him to come up and just say whether or not he supports my position against discrimination, or whether he supports the idea that you ought to be able to take federal money and say, we don't hire people of your religion, or we don't hire people that belong to your church. I think that's wrong. I stood up against it. He has passed out flyers criticizing my position. I'd like him to come up and say what his position is. But I'm proud of my record. As a member of the Democratic Party, I supported a budget in 1993. It was a tough budget. It eliminated the deficit, went into surplus. We're on the way to paying off the entire national debt held by the public, created a record number of jobs, almost quadrupled the Dow Jones Industrial Average. I opposed the Republican budget, which didn't eliminate the deficit. It doubled the national debt. Worst job performance and worst Dow performance since the Great Depression. I'm proud of what the Democrats have done, and we're trying to get it back on track. I'm proud of my record on crime prevention, one of the leaders in crime prevention. Rather than spend all our money building prisons and maintaining our position as the #1 in the world and locking people up, let's put some of that money into early childhood education and after-school programs so that they don't get in trouble to begin with. Education, we're working to eliminate the achievement gap, eliminate dropouts, and access to college. I'm proud of the work we've done on health care. For after 100 years of trying, we have affordable access to health care. need to get back the budget back on track so we create the jobs so that people like Mr. Kelly don't have to run against me again. Everybody can get a job. So thank you very much, Richmond Crusade for Voters. I'm asking for your vote, and I'm thanking you for holding this forum. Thank you very much.